Hey, everybody. It's Jeremy from Jeremy.net. I am a comic book artist, writer, creator, and I share my process with you guys here online. If you enjoy these live streams, like to get additional bonus streams twice a month, you can become a Patreon subscriber for as little as $2 a month. Head over to patreon.com/Jeremy. It's patreon.com/GERIMI. If you'd like to get a free digital sketchbook, work in progress animated GIFs, work in progress animated GIFs delivered right to your inbox, blog posts about what I'm reading, what I'm watching, what's inspiring me creatively, sign up for my free monthly newsletter at substack.com/@Jeremy. And if you'd like to purchase physical copies of my comic books, or if you'd like to read digitally on Kindle, you can go to amazon.jeremy.net. That'll forward you to my Amazon author page. And tonight, we have a special guest, hence a special live stream in the middle of the week. My good friend, animator extraordinaire, creative raconteur, the full fungus himself, Jim Lujan. Welcome, Jim. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. Very much. Thank you. And you have a last name, Burley. I thought you were Jeremy, like Cher or Madonna.
I figured my first name is hard enough to spell as it is. Why complicate things? Okay, why make it crazy?
We on the kids call you G-Burr.
Well, I just wanted people to get the first name down so they can find me at jeremy.net. Whereas with you, if they want to find you, they need to know your last name. So they need to go to jimlujan.com.
And I've met you in person many times, and you are not burly. You're very svelte.
The name is meant to be sort of an intimidator, to kind of throw people off. So then when they meet me, they're like, all right, okay, I can bring my guard down. Just throw them off a little bit and bring them down.
Or if you look at it really quick, it might be Gemini Burley.
That is my common name, and then people are pissed off when they find out that I'm not a Gemini. I can't seem to win. But
thank you for having me on, by the way.
Well, hey, we've been meaning to catch up. It's always good to talk to you anytime we can hang out and chop it up. And you had also mentioned, because I am a Patreon subscriber, that you had a new announcement. But before we go to that new announcement, I was just going to mention I became a subscriber, but I had been busy over the past few weeks since I had joined. I had not yet had a chance to watch The Full Fungus. Because I knew I was talking to you tonight, I sat down, I said, I'm watching The Fungus today. Wow. And just to tell you, just to give you your flowers, man, I mean, The Big Lebowski ain't got nothing on you. It was one of the most enjoyable, hilarious, comedic, crime noir, zany caper romps I have watched in ages. And I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing when you're watching something that good and you forget that a friend of yours made it. Like, come on, how did this knucklehead make this brilliant thing?
Don't we just do the thing and the thing goes like that? Thank you. My God. You know what? They say like you can get 1,000 compliments on one bad thing and it messes your day up. It's the opposite with me. I could hear 1,000 bad things. I hear one good thing and like.
Well, I think that's much better for the personal, mental and emotional health. And I see Scott's hanging out tonight. Says, "Hey, my dudes, good to see you, Scott." We're
circling.
Yeah, we're breaking out of our normal schedule just to get together and chop it up. But as I said, everyone who's anyone is a Patreon subscriber to Jim's Patreon. But
thank you.
If you are in there, you saw, you would have seen that you had a new announcement that you released to everybody, your new project.
Yes, but this is the first unpaid public announcement. I'm going to announce my new project today. First, let me say thank you. I worked on The Full Fungus. Was supposed to be a year, turned out to be a year and a half, and about half of that was trying to export the damn thing. I had so many problems exporting it. I learned so much of what to do, what not to do. By the way, kids, always buy an external drive when you're working on a giant project. Otherwise, your computer will not like you. Once all of that was solved, then it was just a matter of fine-tuning things. There's this horror story I'll tell you later about the audio. I had no creative problems, no problems working with anybody. The story, I never hit a wall. It was all the technical stuff. But that's
Wow.
what happens when you work on a film by yourself. You're foolish. You are a fool, my friend.
You've got a fool for your boss. Well, I mean,
Yes.
I'm really impressed that on the story level, because I'm the type of person who does rewrite after rewrite and changing and tweaking. The fact that the story flowed so well. I mean, I will tell you that when we get to see Mink Fungus's final fate in the film, without spoiling it, the part when he gets into the car and you just see that the gas tank is on empty, I was just like that unto itself. It's like, it's such a poetic shot.
Yeah.
Like a mixed. See, that's the beauty of it. I think that good comedy comes out of, as somebody who does not do comedy, but it comes out of just the scenario. It's not always about cracking jokes, but it's about a good story. Then letting the comedy come out of that. But that was just this beautiful poetic moment amidst all of the great bits that run through the whole film. That this beautiful poignant moment. I'm like, wow, like there was something about that just.
Thank you. I like that part, and the part where a nude, obese Dr. Hodges is laying in bed with a Mexican wrestler and a female.
Smacks the guy on the ass.
Yeah, that's the highlight of the movie for me. So
I will tell you, I looked away because I was, stuff going on around me. I heard the smack and I had to go and just run it back just a couple of seconds just to see that, because I was just like,
that's equivalent to Luke losing his hand in. You have to catch that part. It sets it up. So a couple of things I have yet to say this to the audience, because now that Full Fungus is out, kind of. A couple things is. There are plans. You're getting another exclusive announcement here. There are plans to air this on Animation Plus. So if you have Roku or if you have Samsung TV, you'll be able to see it on there. I don't have the timeline or details, but we went beyond dating. Now we got the ring. And so
put a ring on it.
It's going to be on there. And I'm super happy about that. So I'll be able to point people in there. Also, you mentioned it, Jeremy. If you go to Jeremy's Patreon, just erase a few letters and you just replace Jeremy with, I think, just my name, Jim Lujan, and that'll take you to my. Or actually, you can go to who you follow, because I follow you. By the way, I thought I was already following you. I was like, every time I'd watch your show for like the past year, I'd be like, I'm so proud, I'm helping this, and then I realized one day that I wasn't, and I was like, oh, I felt like I missed child support.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that I follow, like the free follow, just because I'm like, if I were subscribed to every single person that I admire, then like I would just be broke,
right?
Because there's so many great creators on the platform.
Yeah.
But I figured the least I could, I never feel like anyone, I'm grateful for all the subscribers I have.
I'm really enjoying being a patron of yours. There's so much bonus. It makes me want to do some just real simple bonus talks or something. Because when I see that you do one, I'm like, this is like $1.85 worth of I'm getting my money back already. I am ahead. No, I feel like I am. I feel like, not to be corny, but beyond it being a value, I feel like this is awesome. Like, this is just as fun as watching them on the regular streams, but it's like behind the paywall or whatever. And it's really, we support people because we believe in them, and we just want to support them. We don't do it for the perks necessarily. I don't. There's so many people I support that I forget to even go and check out. It's you and Comic Lab are the regular ones that I check out the most.
Well, that is high praise to be mentioned in there. I'm also a patron of theirs, but it's one of those things where I think the most important thing, like you said, there's people we love. We want to see them keep making work.
Yeah, and I'm giving you $60,000 a month, so I'm just saying that
is like child support.
I'm here right now. I bought my way. Call me Elon Lujan.
I'm gonna spend it all on baby oil.
Go to Costco.
But
Okay.
are you ready for me to flip over?
I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
The
So
grand reveal.
I'll build it up and then you can hit the button.
Okay.
Okay. So as we just mentioned, I have a full-length feature film that you can see if you're one of my patrons. You can watch the full fungus, any level. But when I finished that, I told myself, okay, it's time to get to another project because I'm sick and addicted. And I said, I'm not going to do a feature film. You know, originally I was thinking of doing another, like a 20-minute. See, to me, 20 minutes is easy. Like I know that's ridiculous. 20
minutes.
Very
braggy, Jim.
Very 20-minute cartoon.
You're swinging your junk. Like, let me just knock you over with your animated shorts. I'm a feature animator now.
Hey, ladies, you like cartoons? 20-minute cartoon I can do easy. Believe it or not, I could do fairly easy. And I thought maybe I wanted to do that. But then I said, well, what am I real? After I do this next cartoon, there's this one I really want to do, but it's longer. And then I thought, why am I'm not working for anybody but me. Let's just jump to the one I want to do. So I made a compromise. I said, well, it's way too long to tell in 20 minutes. And I do not want to sit down and do an hour-long plus movie again. But I could tell it in little 5-6 minute chunks, like I did with another one I did called All That Glitters, like I did with one called Lars Lazarus. Those were series that I did on YouTube, and then I compiled them to movies, and those are playing on Animation Plus, by the way, now, or my YouTube channel, Jim Lujan. If you just go to youtube.com/Jim Lujan. So
they're right underneath his face.
There you go. Yeah, that'll take you there. Actually, jimlujan.com will take you to my YouTube channel. And please subscribe and like and hit the bell. Smash it. So I told myself, well, what do I want to do? I want to do this story. And I'm going to do it as a series. And when the series is done, I'll compile it all in one big. I'll probably add a couple of extra bonus scenes and combine it to a movie like I've done twice before. It works. And that project is going to be called The Unicornians. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody. So if anybody's ever watched any of my cartoons, they might be familiar. I had a cartoon called John Henry Unicorn, which is about, my favorite cult that I created, the Unicornians, or the first international church of the unicorn. And John Henry Unicorn is kind of this very charismatic Southern preacher character, a little tiny bit Jim Jones-ish, but also mixed with George
Papard?
No, the country singer, George Jones. Jim Jones, part George Jones. He's a little Jimmy, little Georgie. But this, I'm going to be showcasing again the two shorts that I did with, actually there's 3 that I did with that character. Spoiler alert, it's not a spoiler, but he's in prison. After the second one, he goes to prison. And so this takes place years later, and he's still in prison. So he's not really a feature in this. You see the Reverend John Henry Unicorn in some flashbacks and in some other little scenes, but he's not the feature. The main characters in this are the Unicornians, the other members of the church. By the way, all the members of the Unicornian church, they all have names like Kathy Lee Unicorn, or John Michael Unicorn, or Billy Ray Unicorn. Like, they're all names like that. But it takes place, and there's a few of them that it's gonna. But it really follows this undercover reporter. Kind of think Geraldo Rivera from the 70s. His name's Trent Torres, and Trent Torres infiltrates the church to capture that big story, the big one. So it's all about that, him going into the church undercover and learning about what's going on. And there's all kinds of shady dealings going on. And So I think you guys will like it. It's coming. I've already started production. In fact, tonight my drawing is going to be working on one of the characters from the film.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and where can you catch it? I just told you, catch it at jimlujan.com. And then later on, catch it on Animation Plus. There you go.
Now, when you say this, do you know when is it's scheduled to premiere?
Tomorrow night. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, damn. I knew you were fast.
Well, I drew one frame of it, so one shot of it so far. So I expect to be done with episode 1 probably in about a month and a half or so, a month. Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do one, maybe, don't quote me, do not quote, one a month or roughly one a month. That, and again, I'm starting in the middle of January, so, but yeah, and I don't foresee this going, 20 or 30 episodes. It's gonna, I don't quote me on this again, but like I'd be happy if this went between 8 and 13 episodes max. I'd be happy. Like 10 would be great, or 11 or whatever.
You make animations like comic artists make issues.
That's where my influence is. Look who I hang out with. I know very few animators, so I know mostly comic book guys, and I love the variety in comic books. I love that, you have a character and it's going to be in all these different, situations and the different types of covers and stuff like that. So that makes me want to jump around. Makes you want to jump around and do different things. Jump. So crisscross will make you jump.
Jim Lujan will make you jump.
Oh, and speaking of which, I also, besides Mr. the Mathist himself, Sir 22, as I call him, Scott, Gary, Dr. Hodges is in the
house.
Hello.
In the house.
Well, and we're taking questions from the audience too. So if you got any questions, just please feel free to.
Well, the funny thing though is indie creators, in terms of getting issues done, monthly schedules usually ridiculous. At best, you're doing bi-monthly. I mean, I'm lucky if I get 2 issues out a year.
Yeah, that's the Gary Hodges method. Speaking of, yeah,
artisanal comic creation. That's why I say no book shall be printed before its time. That is the way that I go by.
It serves me wisely to slow down too, because we talked about this before, about a life to live away from the.
Oh yes, yeah, just the idea of like, being in the zone and then kind of extricating oneself. I mean, I'll tell you that just I've been kind of on a mission I'm not quite 50 yet, but as I'm approaching the big 50, just trying to, I'd like to say that I always stay like 3 steps away from burnout. Like I can always see it on the horizon there, but I'm always trying to like just back off of it a little bit more and a little bit more. Although I actually have been thinking lately that I might be doing myself a disservice by how slow I've been trying to force myself to slow down. Just thinking about, that whole idea, or that whole apocryphal story of like the pottery class where half the class is graded on quantity, half the class is graded on quality, and the class that was graded on quantity also made the best work.
Oh, no, I never heard that. Is that really, that's a thing?
I don't know what the origins are. It's one of those artistic urban myths meant to inspire us to get off our ass, stop navel gazing, and just make shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that said, I can't call myself a perfectionist in recovery because I'm still perfectionist. I have not recovered. But I'm trying to break out of it and just produce, like just open the floodgates. For me, it's like it's different from the issue that you were talking about, which is just being able to take a break. Whereas with me, taking a break when you're in the zone. Whereas with me, I did myself, I think, to a certain degree, a disservice in that I never really had, as I've just throughout my life maturing, I no longer had like 5 hours or 6 hours at a time to just sit and be creative. So I had to learn how to work in 3-hour chunks or 2-hour chunks. Then life got chopped up where I was like, now I never get 2 or 3 hours uninterrupted. So I'm like, how do I create things in like a 1-hour chunk or a 30-minute chunk? And I've gotten so used to just doing things in tiny dribs and drabs that all I do are tiny dribs and drabs, and I've stopped producing finished work.
Yeah.
And I think
that sounds familiar.
Yes. So
except the problem with me is, like, if I would have, instead of playing a video game or something like that, I'd sit down and chip away at the project that I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that when you do start finding yourself, oh, well, I have, this free time and this free time, you start like immediately gravitating towards it and doing it instead of going, well, wait a minute, I should slow down and go do a life living and then come back to it later. It's not going anywhere. I'm not, like, we're our own bosses about this. We're not on a deadline. That's been a big challenge, but it's because it feels so good. That's the real truth of it. Because it when you're in the zone and you're creating, it feels so good. It feels very, but it's such a selfish or self-contained thing. It's just you can't give that feeling.
You know what it is? Art is grass. The millennials, you tell them, go outside, touch grass.
And you know what I say? Gas, grass,
or a can of whoop ass.
That's right. So
I mean, that's a good S&M.
Hey, I don't know how they do things up Northern California or Central California.
They do things in studded cod pieces. That's how that's where we're at.
But by the way, before we get to drawing, how familiar are you with Santa Barbara?
I mean, I haven't really spent any amount of time there. I mean, I drive through it if I have to go down or back, from LA.
Yeah.
We'll pass through. But why do you ask?
Give you a homework assignment. Next time you come down to Southern California down here, take the 192.
The 192.
The 192 is the greatest highway in the world.
Tell me why.
Let me see if I can. Can you see my computer? Hold on, without it closing.
I can. I can. This is so meta.
Can you see that?
It's so meta.
I have a 192 sticker. I don't know if you can see it.
That I cannot see.
Okay, never mind.
I'll take your word for it. You're not one for hyperbole. Straight shooter Lujan, would they call you?
That's right.
No, but what's up with the 192?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's like driving through Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm at the same time. It's in the foothills. It's really, really beautiful. Mm-hmm. Favorite place. Santa Barbara has become my happy place. So, and my wife as well. I have conditioned her.
You married Santa Barbara?
Yes. Now she's Santa Barbara Lujan. I've conditioned my wife. I said, honey, where's your favorite place? She goes, oh, I like Laguna. I go, she goes, I'm sorry, baby. I like Santa Barbara. Yes.
Don't hit me, daddy.
Yeah, if anyone knows us, they know that's our relationship. That's how it works. I'm very dominant.
Dylan has joined us because where Lujan goes, Dylan cannot be
far
behind. Hey, Dylan, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Jim has announced his new limited animated series.
I also want to see Dylan's movie.
Dylan? Are you doing animation?
Give me the Chalamet movie. Dylan, the name it.
But sorry. I mean, I'm so I can't remember the last time I went to see a movie in the theaters.
We were just talking about that. Leanne and I were just talking about that. What was the last movie? We can't even remember. We were going to see Nosferatu and A Complete Unknown. I was so psyched to see both. And then I realized, you got to leave the house to go to the theater. And I was like, oh, man. But,
Dylan says, my movie is fantastic, but not as fantastic as Jim's movie.
Thank you.
I will have to check out your movie at some point, Dylan. But I mean, I will tell you
Dylan, if you have a movie, I was joking, but if you do, please let us know. All right. I'm going to get to drawing now. How we do this?
Well, see, this is the interesting thing. I have never set it up. I think only one of us gets to be on screen at
Well,
a time.
no, you can do like 4, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe the main screen, or maybe.
Well, hang on. Let me see what happens if I say new layout.
What if
And
you
then
open
I
a
add
portal?
item. Let's see here. Add to stage. Huh.
I don't want to see any of your smutty drawings. Okay.
Oh, here we go. This is interesting. The dynamic camera grid. I have never tried that before.
What if you get sucked into the computer like Tron?
Well, that could go horribly. But you know what? Life goes horribly sometimes. Let's see here. That's 1 and 2. Now, I wonder if, okay. Let me see here. Add. See, media slot.
I want to talk to the manager.
Shush. Shush and shush.
You shush, Karen.
Then let's see here. Add.
Fiona. Come here, kitty.
Let's see here. Yeah, because I know that some of the guys, like some people, they will be using StreamYard, but they will also still be also using OBS so that they can divide their screen into multiple screens.
Is my sharing of the screen? Oh, because I'm sharing. I'm not another participant. I get it now.
But I want to see if there's a way to turn this so that this is really weird. I mean, are you actually seeing this now where you're like it's got this weird layout?
No, I see the full. I see the same.
Well, let me hit save so you can see what the hell I'm doing.
Okay.
And we'll call it custom layout. So it started doing it where it was kind of building where up where you are, you and I both were, and then there was another layout down here where I am now where I was trying to add myself, like add my screen here, but I think it'll only allow one screen share during the layout at a time, in which case I would default, you being the guest, I would gladly give you that screen share.
That's too much pressure. I would forego the drawing if that was the case.
Well, I don't think that we need to forego the drawing. I think that hang on. I also want to see if it'll let me delete this custom setting now that I realize I do not need it. Let's see here. Yeah.
Well, Jeremy's tinkering on this. If anyone has any questions for Jeremy or myself, please put them in the chat.
Now's the time. Get in where you fit in.
We're off guard and we'll be truthful. And I would like to do some product placement for my mug. My infinite mug. That's right. Ooh. If you order it now, I will put real reptilian lizard person blood inside of it for you. That's right. Ah, tasty.
Like human flesh.
Yes.
All right. So this extra layout thing, I thought that it would give me what I wanted, but it refuses to give me what I want. But I really, really want. All right. Well, in that case, we'll just discard those changes. So we can just flip back and forth. We can look at you draw for a little while, and then I can throw me on, and you can look at me draw for a while, draw my little wind-up girls. We can go back to you.
Very, or I could even set the camera up. I could do the old,
Damie King asks, reptilian confession? Now, that's news to me. I'm not sure what's up with you. I'm not sure if you're ready to jump out of your skin suit and reveal your reptilian nature to the world. Like V, and just come out of the closet, or as we call it, the reptile house.
Not while P. Diddy's in prison, I guess.
Well, that's what he need all the baby oil for. Ashy as hell. But on the real, I don't know if it's real. I didn't read it first, but Gary has some questions. Oh, for Jeremy. Let's figure out when I can guess sometime. It's been too long.
No.
Word. We will
The
make
answer's
that
no.
happen. I will mute you, Jim. I will mute. Muted. Unmuted. I said, and for Jim, why are you the way you are?
Thank you, Gary. That's so sweet. Oh my gosh.
I think you should answer that with interpretive song.
Why am I the way I am? Because I am what I am. And that's
but is
all
that
what
all
I
you
am.
are?
It's all what I are.
Let's see here. Jeremy and Dylan, as the audience knows, both of you are centuries-old vampires. What year were you turned?
Like turned out? Oh no, that has a T in it. Turned. I'm sorry. Turned out. My next film is called Turned Out.
Well, you know what? I mean, I look centuries old. That's actually just the fact that I don't know. Poor skincare. I actually was turned like a couple months ago. Some people are like the first vampire. I'm the last vampire. I was just turned. Well, brand new at this.
I have a confession. I'm actually a werewolf. So
explains the chest hair.
Yes.
You are actually known as Fuzzy Wuzzy. That's
and
the
fleas.
Name.
And the fleas.
And the fleas.
And the lipstick. Okay.
Dylan says, while Jim was muted, he gave away the real location of Area 51. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but only Dr. Hodges knows that information. That is top clearance information. None of us have access to that except for the good doctor. And Damie asks, Jeremy, are you working on a new comic series? I've been out of the loop. Have you just recently finished one? I am working on a new series. Yes. I have not just recently finished one. I have been really dragging my feet. I finished Morningstar during the beginning of the pandemic. So I think the trade for volume 2 of Morningstar was published either 2020 or 2021. So that was my most recent project. And now here we are 5 years later. I have been writing and rewriting my new series. I should have started it a long time ago. And I think it's just the fact that anytime I finish something, I want to make the next thing better. And each draft I write of this, I just keep saying, it's not the matter of it being perfect. It's the fact that I know I can do better. So I keep dragging my feet and going back and trying to make it better and better. But I think I need to get over that and just say, it's good enough, get started. So,
yeah.
But yes, I do have a new comic book on the horizon. It's too soon for me to say what the release date is going to be yet.
Gary Hodges listening, I forgot the name of the method Scott Lost taught us all about. It's called it's okay. I don't remember the name of it.
It's the shut the fuck up and draw method.
Yes. It's the what's the matter with you? No, but it's where kind of you're working on anything, a project. You're getting tedious, then you find a bit of it that you're looking forward to doing, and you jump to that and do it, and that will give you energy to go back and finish the other things. They're not as tedious anymore because the slack method. Yes,
the slack
lost anal cavity. So that's what it
sounds delicious.
Yes, I give it 2 thumbs up. Why are we the way we are? I don't know. But that method really works. Jeremy, I'll tell you, I think I was telling this to Josh Kemble at one
Mm-hmm.
point, but if you find yourself really toiling, like I can do this better. Couple things.
Mm-hmm.
One is if you were to put that away, walk away, and come back a month later, you'd look at that and go, "Wow, that was really good. What was I thinking?" Because you're just in the moment. Other
Mm-hmm.
thing is, this is the heartbreaking thing. You could spend 30 days, 30 weeks on a scene, and you got it crystal perfect. And this is just especially for comics,
Mm-hmm.
just perfect. It's shiny. It's like I'm so proud of the scene, and somebody will read through it this fast. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Like even the people that read comics, and how much time are they going to spend reading it? They're going to be like, "Oh, that's really cool. I like how he did that." Next page. Like people just want the experience. They
Mm-hmm.
don't. So if you get to that experience and you give them that experience without knocking yourself out, when you see that happening over and over, that's when you really start developing a method of like, okay, I don't need to knock myself out over here. I need to concentrate on this over here. And this, because when you're really when you're perfecting every level of everything, I don't know. I just think it kills the energy. Just like
Mm-hmm.
with thumbnails, I always say this, thumbnails have so much energy in them and so much, you're getting your point across so well, and the feel and the vibrancy of it, that when you do the final, 9 times out of 10, the final doesn't capture that same energy the thumbnail does. It captures an energy, but not the
Mm-hmm.
same. And it's because you're being really loose and everything.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because one of the things I'm trying to do, pardon me, I've got a frog in my throat.
I have a bee in my bonnet.
All right, no, mic's back on. One of the things that I want to do is try and make this next comic a little bit more like my thumbnails and layouts, except finish the faces. So almost just make the whole thing like super sketchy and loose, with the exception of just rendering where needed for certain detail points. Most just faces and hands, anything that needs to be cleared up. But yeah, it's I what was it? Because I was kind of writing about it. I think I may have mentioned this in a post on the Patreon blog, but it's the fact that it was either a post on Patreon or it was just something I was writing to another friend talking about art. But the fact that I love process, I love, just studying art for the sake, like, some people are like, I don't want to do classes. I don't want to go and study figure drawing. I don't want to, work on any stuff. I just want to have fun. I enjoy the study. I enjoy like the rigorous discipline. I like the idea of sitting and doing master studies from like great works of art. Like that is totally my jam. And I think that I have so fallen in love with that process of just enjoying the studying that it has led me to a place where I'm no longer concerned with finishing. Or at least I don't feel that urgency to finish something that I used to feel.
I mean, ultimately you do, but not at the moment. You don't feel like you're rushing yourself, probably, right?
Yeah, I really don't. Like, it's one of those things where the advantage of being an indie creator is that if you don't think something is ready and you want to take your time and make it better, you can. You don't have to shit something out just because you need to hit a deadline or you need to service a market. And in fact, that's an interesting question for you is, well, okay, this was an interesting thing. What led to this conversation, this discovery, was me asking another friend if working quickly robs them of pleasure. Because I have heard from comic creators who work in mainstream comics that they can feel like they don't get to enjoy making comics, like how it's a dream job and everyone thinks it's a dream job, but then when you get into it, it's a grind and you're getting up and you're pulling 10-12 hour days, you trying to just draw the top out of your head, but there's costume that you're like, oh well, I don't know how this character looks like, I gotta pull reference for this.
Yeah.
You've got this one pose that doesn't look right, and you're like, all right, you're trying to do everything you can to not go look for reference, but there's stuff that doesn't look right, so you got to get reference, and just then your editor calls back with some changes, and like the whole thing becomes like you're working so fast and so hard that you don't get to enjoy it. And for me, I find working very slowly, and I'll call it what it is. I find navel gazing in art fun, trying to get the line just right, tweaking the composition, and like if I just move this over here and add the highlight wrapping around the cheek a little bit higher, it's like it, and I know it's navel gazing, but I find it like I kind of like how they say that food tastes better if you take your time and chew every bite. That's how I feel about making art slowly. But I was very surprised when I talked to a few other friends and they were like, I hate working slowly. I want to work fast.
Yeah, I work very, very fast. But when I first got my iPad, I realized that I could take some of my reference art, like if I had a room or something like that, or even a pose, and basically trace it, put it into Procreate and trace it. Even though I wasn't tracing it line for line, I was tracing like the energy of it, and everything. And then my wife said, "That's cheating." And then I said, "I'll show you cheating," which leads us to our next step. No, but she's right. I mean, I actually, what really made, besides her putting that in my head, which is true, it kind of told me like, well, I want to get better. You always want to get better. So if you don't have any interest in getting better, I think that's dangerous, So then I started doing that less. Now I won't lie. Sometimes if I'm drawing like a car or something, sometimes I will totally like trace it, because I cannot draw cars. I mean, I can draw my cars look like Berenstein Bear cars, like which is kind of cool. But I want to show you something.
I want to see a Richard Scary car. Oh, hang on, let me switch the screen back to you. Oh, there we go.
Let me show you how this works. So
let me show you something.
This is my cheat. I'm going to show you how I do a lot of my characters. Right. So it's a sketchbook, right? So other day we were out and I was sketching, characters. I was looking at some character actors and I was just kind of getting ideas for faces and just drawing them and creating them in my own way and blah, blah, blah. And there's a couple more in here. Some, and then you talk about the energy of your thumbnails. They're kind of like, in a way, my thumbnails are just my quick sketches. So what I always do, and I've done this for many a film, I'll take these into Procreate and I will use the magic of technology. And I'll go copy and paste and like get rid of this layer. And then I have a character right there, right? And for my characters, I reuse headshots. There are times when I can't do that and I have to redraw the headshot and match it. And I hate that with a passion. I don't enjoy it or feel like I'm learning how to, it's like, but I will do a front, side, back, and sometimes a 3/4 view if I'm going to reuse. So if you look at the full fungus, if you look at any of my films in the last 10 years, they're all done like that. I for the main characters, I use the same heads and I redraw the bodies. So I don't cheat with the bodies, but actually,
bodies keep score.
Yeah. If I have somebody in a regular pose like this, I might reuse, it later on. But for a lot of times, if they're sitting in a car, if they're doing something in action or something like that. But what I do though is I do create another layer here, and I'll turn the opacity down. This guy, I turn the opacity down, way down. And
Downtown, Julie Brown.
opacity, you going down tonight, opacity. That's right. Okay. So, and then I will do that little cheat method I told you that I used to do back in the day. And this will help me capture the energy of the character. Now this guy is kind of I got this off of a character actor. I don't know his name, but I
Steven
changed the
Seagal?
No, I changed the hairstyle to a Steven Seagal hairstyle because I thought the face was kind of looking a little bit Seagalish. So what you're seeing now will end up in the final film. This will end up animated, and this will be the version that you see.
Mm-hmm.
But this is very relaxing to me, as was the original drawing of the original character was relaxing. It was very therapeutic, very, just very chill. And I'll color this character, everything. Yeah, I totally when I had like this much of the character like this, when I was drawing him, I was like, oh, he's kind of looking a little bit like Steven Seagal. So the original character had more of a pompadour. It was like a 50s actor.
Kind of.
And then I just said, you know what? I'm gonna Seagal this dude out, which is what I did. So this is one of the Unicornians, and he's kind of a big dude. He's kind of a tall dude, so he's kind of a muscle dude. A lot of the Unicornians also have Southern accents too. So, as they do in real life, the real Unicornians. But I like the name, the Unicornians, also because it sounds like an AMC series, something very like would have for your consideration. And it has all of them posing like that. The Unicornians
could also be on TNT.
There you go. Yes,
teaming up with the Librarians.
The Unicornians, the Kardashians. It's all the same. So.
They could guest star.
Yeah, so
from the pitch and the premise, I kind of got sort of a little bit of Royal Tenenbaums meets Righteous Gemstones kind of vibe from your pitch.
Yeah, the Righteous Gemstones, I get that, and yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's a little bit. So remember the it follows this undercover. Guy. He's kind of the main character in it, but through him you meet all these other characters, and the good, the bad, the violent ones that So
you know what? Here's a question. Have you read I see Chris is in the chat here, and he's all Jeremy on at night? Yes. It's like, yeah. I'm usually not. Well, I mean, I am a night owl, but normally them's is Jeremy's hours, but Jim, encroacher that you are, lured me out into the darkness. What was it I was going to say? There's a comic book series. I don't know if you even read any comics regularly these days, but
no.
Yeah, no, they're
just my old ones like Watchmen.
There's a series by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips called Reckless, and it's like Rockford Files if Rockford Files was very violent.
Cool. Wow, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's like an ex federal agent who has some PTSD trauma and a brain injury that kind of messes up his emotions a little bit, but he's a great investigator, and now it's just sort of like solving mystery of the week, except instead of it being a monthly comic book, it's like they put out like 1 or 2 graphic novels a year. But there's something about the fact, I mean, kind of in the same way when we were talking about The Full Fungus, in the fact that if you take all of the comedy out, it's still a great story.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Rockford Files was a big influence on it too. Noir, I told myself it had to have a soundtrack of jazz, because at first I was really thinking of doing the Tarantino thing, jumping around and doing different styles of music for different scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just thought, you know what? I have to have something that ties this together. And it's the jazz. So even the songs that aren't jazz have kind of a jazzy feel or a saxophone somewhere. But now you kind of make me interested. I want to look into that Brubaker book.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, the nice thing about it is that they are all available from the public library. If you have a library card, have you ever used the app Hoopla?
Is that the one you swipe right?
No, it just comes up as you can read some stuff in guided view, but for the most part, everything just comes up as like a full comic page. So if you're reading on an iPad, it's just like you're just reading a full digital comic book page. In fact, to zoom in, generally you kind of have to pinch and
Jeremy, by the way, that was a really horrible Tinder joke I was making. So or Grinder.
Whatever
you think, son. Whatever you think.
I can be a little bit on the spectrum. Sometimes I take the jokes literally. I literally take the jokes. I'm gonna take them, you dirty little no.
Dirty little joke taker.
But if you've got an LA public library card, Hoopla, they give you just access to tons of stuff, like digital stuff, like books, films, albums, that sort of thing.
Leanne has educated me on that. She uses that. Well, that's right. Now I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Well, about time, Jim. No. But I was gonna say that I think the whole series is available on Hoopla, and it's worth if you're interested in checking them out, then it's worth hopping on there, and you will blow through them quick. And it's very much like I'm trying to think of something that's menacing. Like, who's a filmmaker that makes really menacing films? Kind of like I'm trying to remember the director that made Walk Among the Tombstones. Scott Frank. Yeah, Scott Frank. Imagine Scott Frank doing the Rockford Files, where it's the Rockford Files. It still feels kind of like episode of the weekish, kind of fun 70s retro. With Reckless, there's like a level of menace in each issue or each volume, since they're all graphic novels. That pervades in a positive way. But that was something, there were two things I was going to put a pin in, which was one, the comparison in terms of different genres and influences, because I was going to mention that, John Henry Unicorn, The Full Fungus, all of your films in a certain way, like, even though I can find touchstones of other creators whose work I like, your work does have a singular Lujan-ness to it.
Yes, I agree. I like, a really good compliment years ago somebody gave me. They said, I can always tell when it's one of your drawings. Like if I see it in a showcase with other drawings, I could always spot yours really quick.
Mm-hmm.
But then he said, because they suck. But that was like, that's a great compliment. By the way, this guy started to look a little Johnny Cash.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't noticed, I did not mean. I usually don't spend it. I'm spending an innate amount of time, an inordinate amount of time on the care. I usually don't,
Now, is that because you're distracted by the fact that we're talking while you're drawing? Because a lot of times, like, I'll spend like a whole live stream and working, and then I get done and I'm like, oh, I need to redraw all of this.
I think it's actually because if I was listening to you do your normal stream right now and sat down tonight and said, I'm going to work for an hour, let's say, on this, I would say I need to draw all four of these guys. Like, that's my goal. All four of these guys and a couple of views for each of them. So I would be hustling. But since I'm not, I'm just kind of like, yeah. It's just, I think it's because we're chatting and stuff, and I'm trying not to. It's not my normal work method, but But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying our chat.
As am I. I mean, the weird thing is the posts that I make on Patreon, a lot of the times the written parts come from just thoughts that I have. My whole thing is I never really sit down to write a blog so much as it is I try to keep track. I feel like I do my most interesting thinking while I'm drawing. And honestly, while I'm writing too. Like a lot of times your brain, in an effort to derail you and sabotage you, you're writing one story and your brain is like, hey, what about this story? What about this idea? Have you thought about this? What about this thing that you haven't touched in 5 years? And my brain's constantly trying to derail me. And a lot of times my method for coping with that is just write down the top tagline of this thought and then just drop it, just drop it into a Word doc and come back to it later. And that tends to be like, to that degree, they are written, but it's like I'll come back and just flesh out the idea just a little bit for consumption. But I feel like the interiority of the creator's mind, that's my whole purpose in live streaming and blogging and sharing and all of that is just simply, this is what's going on in my head while I'm making stuff.
Yeah, I've always liked to listen to people talk while I draw. I don't watch movies while I draw. I used to. I think when I first started doing animation, I thought, oh yeah, I'll soak up movies while I draw and draw. But I end up like watching the movie pretty much. So I mean but listening before podcasts were called podcasts. My friends had a show called Fanboy Radio.
I remember it was Scott
Hines.
Scott Hines.
Just talked to Scott tonight, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Yeah. Scott and I are really good friends. We stayed in touch, as a lot of the crew. David Hopkins and Oliver Littell and a few other, Justin Stewart, still a great friend. We all stayed friends. However, I used to listen to his show. I used to look so much. It was on at 4 p.m. on Sundays in California. It was he broadcast out of
Texas,
Dallas.
right?
Yeah, and it was on the internet. It was like one of the first ones, and it was out of a radio station, TCU, and then after that, slowly I found Webcomics Weekly. Started recording those, and I just found even listening to the same episodes over and over, just was nice to have somebody listen to a conversation in the background.
You ever mess with Sidebar?
I think I had heard it, but I'm not familiar with it.
So 3 black dudes that are talking. They're a little bit more illustrator oriented, a little bit more like they were definitely comics focused, but they got a lot more into the nuts and bolts process of a creator, whether they were a comic creator or not. But they were like more comics and concept art than they were just comic book industry news type stuff.
Okay. I'd heard that name, Sidebar. Yeah. But I mean, just much like I bet you a lot of your audience is working on their projects while they listen to it's kind of like having company while you're drawing, just listening to you chat and talk and stuff like that, even though you don't have a guest on. Like right now, I'm throwing people off. I know it.
Well, no, because I feel, this is the interesting thing. And because when I talk to people that are like, I want to live stream, I want to share my art, but I'm nervous or I feel weird about talking about my artwork online, I always tell them that I have the same level of social anxiety that I think a lot of creative people do. And some people do it by being very performative and entertaining. Some people do it where they'll draw in public, but they just will not interact with the audience. They'll just have they won't even have a microphone on. They'll just be drawing and you get to see with the work. And at the end, they'll turn it into they'll do it as a live stream. And then you can watch the replay as a time lapse. And that's it. Never a word spoken. For me, it is that thing that I mentioned earlier about the inner monologue of the artist. And and I've said this on the stream multiple times. So you've heard it. So you're like, get some new shit, Jeremy. But the idea that I'm pretending like all of the comments in the chat or anyone else that's hanging on are just those extra voices in my mind. The same way that, like, for most people who are writers or writer artists, you're always kind of making up fictional conversations, whether it be because you're playing out events in your life or because you're trying to work out a narrative and you're just like, oh, the conversation go this way or that way, or our brains just do it. Like, we might be thinking about like having to go to the dentist tomorrow, and our brains start imagining the conversation with the dentist, you know? And I try to treat the conversations in the chat as part of that mental inner monologue. So it's like I'm just responding to the voices in my head. So as far as I'm concerned, Jim, you're a hallucination.
I'm a Lujan nation.
Lujan Nation.
Which is
Lujan Nations.
Which is a
great. You're a ghetto nation.
Great, yeah, ghetto nation. Ghetto nation. So I've noticed that the times where I really, really want to pay attention and listen to something are not times where I want to be drawing. It's like you just kind of I've listened to the same episodes of Webcomics Weekly hundreds of times probably. And then I still couldn't recite what they're talking about. Like I didn't retain the information. It was like just comfort food. A lot of, I mean, I don't know. When I'm drawing, I think that's kind of par for the course. I'm not a good, when you said, I remember being a kid at lunch or at recess and I would draw a cartoon, draw this, and I draw, and there would be like kids around me drawing, and it never bothered me because I would just kind of get in a zone. But I would say funny things and hear them laughing and say funny things. I don't even know what I said, kind of like it was just autopilot humor. I was probably making mama jokes.
You were in the zone.
In the zone. This mama joke comes from the zone, which is where your mama lives. But it really is. It really is like a zone. It's like your mind's just like a big receptor. I talked to Terry Hodges about this one time and just recently learned that Corey Kerr agrees with me.
Shocker.
Finally, that
you wore him down?
That ideas we're kind of like receptors for ideas that are like, these ideas are more
the Elizabeth Gilbert model.
Is she on Little House on the Prairie?
She's the woman that wrote Big Magic and Eat, Pray, Love.
I know Eat, Pray, Love. What does she say? Ideas are just floating out there like that?
She has a really, really great, and one of the most, I think it's probably one of the most famous TED Talks ever given. And it is about genius. Because the whole idea of like, what is it like to be writing and trying to produce work when in all likelihood the most successful thing you will ever do is in your past. It's in the rear view. Like she was kind of like, she's like, I'm going to keep writing because I love writing and I'm passionate about it. But she's like, the odds of me creating something that's going to be as popular as Eat, Pray, Love is even if she writes something that is objectively better, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be more successful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
I mean, like if you count the number of people, the millions and millions of people that have read Batman Year One, and you compare that to the people who have read David Mazzucchelli's Asterios Polyp, it's like the numbers are dwarfed. But Asterios Polyp is a masterpiece that I would argue dwarfs Batman Year One, not just because Batman Year One is a superhero comic and Asterios Polyp is a deep character exploration of man searching for meaning. But just the idea, Elizabeth Gilbert was talking about genius and the idea that another famous guy says that inspiration always finds me when I'm sitting down working at the typewriter. And that idea that
that was Ted Kaczynski said that.
And it did find him.
And they did find him.
They did find him. But the idea that our job as creators is to show up. The ideas are out there, they're floating through the ether, and you can grab it, you can catch it and lure it in and put it into a vessel, whether it's poetry or sculpture. But everything that you're saying, my point being is that Elizabeth Gilbert is saying, the point is that Elizabeth Gilbert agrees with you and Corey.
Yeah, it could be a little bit of woo, 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 woo. Mm-hmm. But I kind of believe that. I kind of do. I think there's a lot we don't understand. Kind of in the way where when you open yourself up to various things, I think things can happen, and people could call it spiritual or whatever, good and bad, good and bad. If somebody wants to get better, I don't mean like, maybe I'm not talking like an illness, or maybe I am, I don't know, but like I want
like a Ouija board in The Exorcist.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Pazuzu.
There's something to be said to all that stuff.
I thought they were gonna say bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
But like my boy Ted Kaczynski says,
your boy T-Bone.
TK. I don't know. I find that Jeremy, before I forget, I'm an author. I have to do this. I have to plug something.
Oh.
No, not my screen. Keep your screen. You got your screen. Put me up on the top one. I want to show you this.
Put you on the top rope.
Put me on the top bunk. Here we go. I'm also a world-renowned author. I have this book here.
The Full Fungus Companion.
Right. So, for those of you who just tuned in, this is my movie, The Full Fungus. You can watch it. Go to my Patreon, and if you're a patron, you can watch the film again and again and again and again. And then this book actually has all kinds of articles. I'll just put it here. You could do screenshots. That way you don't have to buy it.
Exactly.
It's got art from the film. It's got articles. You could learn how this guy stalks Selena Gomez. Pictures from the film.
Tell her I tried.
multiple character backstories. So, for example, this guy appears in the film for like 4.8 seconds, but you can learn his whole backstory. That that he was in a car club. He was in the Nasty Habits car crew, and they have an event coming up called the Latin Style Rollers on Beverly Boulevard coming up. So you can learn that. But all kinds of stuff. And it's even, got sketches and production notes and things like that. So, but all yours for the low price of whatever it is on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and get it. So that's my pitch. I forgot I had it there the whole time.
Well, shame on me for not throwing out the pitch for that, because I have been enjoying the bios that you've been sharing on Patreon of all these characters. Like, it's kind of like the Marvel Universe handbooks, where it's giving you like a little shot of all the. Doesn't matter if they only appear in one panel, one frame of the film. It's like they're there. They've got a whole journey behind them.
Yeah, there's a lot. I actually, even me reading this book, because makes me want to watch the film again, and believe me, I watched it enough. but to tell you the truth, again, I mentioned this earlier about stepping away from your work and then coming back and like, oh, that's good. There are a lot of things while I was making the film, I was like, that's going to bother me. Like that little flaw, it's not a big deal, but it's going to bother me. There were as you do an hour and 41-minute film, you're going to find like the flaws outnumber you, and you're like, forget it. I give up. And then going back and watching it, they are lessened by 89%, because like 89% of them are like, oh, it's there, but I didn't even notice it. I was too busy watching this other thing or whatever.
They charm you now.
It's getting too close. Yeah, my films are founded. Their foundation is mistakes. So if I take them away, that'll fall down like a house of cards. But no, I embrace. I mean, it's just my style too, a little bit too. It's kind of it's not sloppy, but it's not pristine and it's not pure, never touched. My stuff's been around.
It's not chased.
It's around. My that's an experience.
Okay. Well, there was another thing that we touched on just briefly in talking about the music, and I mean, you deserve like an Annie Award just for the score for that film. Because I know you had a collaborator in is it Neeson or Nissen?
He's my theme song singer for years, and my cousin Mike Perez plays a guitar. He played on like 4 or 5 of the guitar and 4 or 5 of the songs in there. I love music. I love music exactly as much as I love drawing and doing animation and stuff like that. In fact, I did music before. Well, I've always drawn. First thing I ever drew that my sister kept. I was about 4 years old and I drew Batman, and it was a weird looking Batman. Like it would fit in with what I draw now. Yeah, but then she had me, and this is funny. My first drawing very first thing that they saved, it actually had inks on it. Like I inked my stuff because I did she had me do like paint it with like a little watercolor, and I painted Batman, and then it dried, and she had me go over it with a pen, ink it. So I was like, this is like Al Milgram. But or more Terry Austin to be quite frank. But yeah, so I've always drawn, but music, I love doing music. And through the years, since age 13, 12, I've always recorded a lot of music. A lot of it for the first, 9 or 10 years was on a tape recorder. But I have that stuff. In fact, I'm digitizing stuff, by the way, just so I can keep it, so that when they open the museum of my stuff, they can have that. So, but
I'm imagining I would love to see a box set of your work, and it's in the full fungus case.
My museum is going to be like 80 floors underground in a bunker, so that if there's ever a disaster or a nuclear war, everybody's forced in there, and that's all they have. And then they could be like the Planet of the Apes, where they worship my stuff. But yeah, music's huge. And I want to plug something. I want everybody that watches this, I want you to go to YouTube and look up The Grand Supper. So I'll type this in the chat.
The Grand Supper.
The Grand.
Now I've heard you talking about the Grand Supper.
This goes to you too, Jeremy. There, the Grand Supper on YouTube.
Here, let me toss that up there.
Please go there and do the whole thing. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. Comment on some of the songs. So what the Grand Supper is, it's a collection of all the fake bands, all the solo, all the collaborations, all the group. It's funny, I have probably 2,086 fake bands that I've made. But out of those 2,086 fake bands I've made, there's only like 6 members. It's just different combinations of people.
Lots of cross-pollination.
Yes. But lately I found a way to do stuff solo where you can kind of sound like other people in different ways using technologies. So
auto-tune all up in your game.
That's right. So no, but I'm having a lot of fun. I love doing music. It's a nice break from art, and it is actually drives the art, because more times than not, I'll do the music years before, and it'll just be floating around, and I'll use that music in a film, or I will write music specifically like Full Fungus for the film, and it inspires it. But sometimes, like, I'm trying to think of an example. Well, like, this is a really deep cut, but I had a song called Hard Crumbler, and I don't remember what the theme song is. I'm going blank on it, but the theme song was written like 2 years before. And when I wrote that song, it's a real like biker sounding, like a slow, like a, crawling little dirty bar number. Neeson sings it. And when I wrote that song, I thought this would be perfect in this style of a scene or a movie or whatever, or the opening credits of this type of a movie. And then a couple of years later, I pulled from the catalog. I'm like, that's it. I'm going to use this one finally. And it works. You know what I mean? So a lot of times that happens with me. I'll write stuff and just hold on to it for a few years and then just say, oh, now this would work perfectly in this. Like the theme song I wrote for tonight's show. So, yeah. You guys have to be patrons at $500 a month to hear it, though. So for both of us,
it don't come cheap. It don't come cheap,
but it's worth it.
Bring the cheddar, the cheddar, and we'll bring the cheese.
We'll bring that. Yeah, that's right. That makes no sense, but I like it. I thought you were going to say, bring the cheddar, we'll bring the crackers. But then I thought we don't want to go racist on this show, so.
We'll bring the Velveeta spread.
That's right. We'll bring the Velveeta. You bring the spread.
Ooh, I like. Ooh, that's nice.
We're horrible human beings, by the way.
Most human beings are horrible human beings.
That's true.
Comes with the gene pool.
That's true.
What are we gonna do about it?
Jeremy, welcome to the Actor Studio. What tingles you these days creatively?
Is that one of the actual Actor Studio questions?
No, but if I was on it, it would be. What out there right now?
Mm-hmm.
This is not an all-time question. This is just right now, today. Mm-hmm. What can you think of that you're like, this kind of like interests me? I may not have even seen this movie, but the fact that it exists, it could be anything. Or I heard a song the other day. Or I bought the Fungus Companion. Or I saw the movie or whatever.
Well, the Full Fungus would definitely be at the top of that list. I will be writing a review of that because part of one of the things that I do on my Patreon is I write just descriptions of the movies and TV, and it meant mostly originally start off with books that I've read, but I have not been getting through as many books as I'd like lately. So I just said, all right, well, let me include the TV shows. Sometimes it's a podcast, but I will tell you that I have not written this review yet, but I have a review planned for a newsletter, which is unusual because, what I do with my Patreon is like half of the content is Patreon exclusive and then half of the content is Patreon early access. And then I'll take the early access stuff and that ends up going in my newsletter. And it's weird to talk about somebody else's newsletter in a newsletter. But there is a woman named Samantha Irby, and she used to write a blog called Bitches Gotta Eat. And she's as funny as the name of the blog. She's just incredibly hilarious, sarcastic. Like, basically, imagine a filthy Quinta Bronson from Abbott Elementary. Imagine, like, a really filthy version of her.
Not in front of the kids.
No, you in front of, literally. The kids got the eyelids taped open, full on Clockwork Orange. Kids ain't gonna be right ever again.
How did you discover her newsletter?
I don't even know. Well, first off, her newsletter, I can't remember if it has a different name or not. I just discovered it. The point is that I used to read her blog regularly, and I can't remember how I came across it. It was one of those where I was searching for something that had bitches in it.
I'm sure you were. I assume that.
And autocorrect said, "Bitches gotta eat." And I mean, half of the weird shit I find is me typing in something else, and then it makes a suggestion. I'm like, well, what the hell is that? I gotta click on that. So of course I'm gonna go see what Bitches Gotta Eat is about. And I found her blog, and she's a writer. She's published I don't know if she's published multiple books or just the one memoir book, but kind of like imagine if if David Sedaris was a heavyset black woman from Chicago.
Oh, he's not?
No, he's very dainty. He's very
hilarious
dainty.
too, by the way.
Yes. But and it's interesting too because a lot of it was about her early dating life and a lot of the trash dudes that she was dating.
Is it
before,
only in written form?
Well, no, the blog. Well, this is the interesting thing. I'm not sure what the form the archive of the blog is, but at a certain point, she sort of dropped off of social media. She got married to a woman. They moved in and it was interesting because that was kind of like at the time before her blog kind of disappeared. It was like her and her wife moving to somewhere. I don't know if it was Vermont or somewhere like that, but it was about the whole thing of her being this very, very urban woman now moving out into like the woods with like her granola ass wife, and just like, wow, this is not the experience I thought I would be having at this age. But it was very entertaining. And then somewhere at a certain point, I either stopped following or she wasn't posting regularly. But this is what it was. When my wife and I were getting ready to move, I was cleaning out my bookshelf and I came across her book because I loved her blog so much. I definitely bought her book as soon as it came out.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, the book was called Meaty, and excellent book. Again, if you enjoy David Sedaris, there's some stuff that's a little darker edge than David Sedaris, but for the most part, it's a very, very funny book. And I came across the book. My wife was like, "Do you want to keep this?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I want to keep that book." And then it made me say, I wonder what she's up to. All of this to say, I clicked over to her blog and she said that these days it's like reviews of The Batch. She said, if you're not interested in recipes and reviews of The Bachelorette or whatever season they're doing, you're probably not going to be interested in my blog anymore. But I subscribed anyway, just because I'm like, look, I don't really care about The Bachelorette, but I'll give your reviews a try. And she does this amazing thing where I'll probably, if I write about something I've read or watched, I try to keep it. I'm not good at like estimating writing in terms of word counts, but it's like maybe 3 to 5 paragraphs. I'm not trying to write a New York Times review.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give people a sense of what I watched. And I only write about stuff that I enjoy. I don't do hit pieces. If I don't like it, I don't talk about it. But whereas I'll write a bunch of paragraphs and in the end it's all sound and fury signifying nothing, but I included the link to the trailer so you can go watch that show, or I included the link to the Amazon page or the bookshop.org so you can at least go and read the publisher's description. She writes a description in one sentence and then just has the link to the trailer or the book. But her descriptions are so pithy. They are like, it's like poetry. It's like a dirty haiku. And they're just, you know what? Hang on. I'm going to switch the screen back to your screen and I'm going to see if I can pull up her Substack.
All right. Well, if you do have a dirty haiku and you want to get it cleaned, this is the Grand Supper right here. This is the Grand Supper where you can watch amazing music videos.
My sweet unicorn.
Yes, you can watch all kinds of stuff. So, sneezed.
Now, see, that sounds like my jam. I love me some sneezed.
Okay, that was a sneeze.
Oh.
But yeah, that's the Grand Supper. And then also, if you go to, let's see, let's find my website. And this is my website. Where am I? This is my website. I mean, my website, my YouTube channel. But look at all these wonderful movies you can watch. Thousands of hours. So here's what I was telling you earlier, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
All That Glitter was a series. And it's one of my favorite things I've done. And there's 20 episodes of it. But I assembled those 20 episodes. And each episode, as you can see, is like 3 minutes, 2 minutes, And there's 20 of them. And by the time I assembled all of the episodes, it was about an hour. and I made a movie of it, and they're playing that on Animation Plus, as they are playing same thing with Lars Lazarus. So I'm doing another series. That's the Unicornians, which I was showing you earlier, and then this is the film trailer to the Full Fungus over here. So
we can throw it on, and I don't know if the audio will come through the screen, but if you want to play it,
no worries. Well, I'll just tell you what's going on.
You'll just mouth it.
Yes, but that's about it. But let's see what you're going to bring up.
Well, no, I'm just trying to find. Let me see. I was just going to read to you some of her descriptions. Oh, it still is called "Bitches Gotta Eat." Let's see here. What was her last? Oh, this is what it wasn't. Bachelorette reviews. It was who was on Judge Mathis the day before yesterday. But what was this? I am trying to find the most recent one. Okay, like for instance, that movie, the Pope movie with Ray Fiennes, Conclave.
Yes,
she just says, "Hot priests gossiping and fighting like bitches. What a treat."
That's pretty funny.
Or let's see, We Live in Time. It says Andrew Garfield being extremely adorable with the extremely adorable Florence Pugh, but also kind of about nothing. And I mean, and it goes on and on. Like the movie Carry On, that movie with Jason Bateman. I want to say it's Taron Egerton.
I know Jason Bateman's in it. Is that like a thriller?
Yeah. It's just like it's Die Hard.
Carry On, Slight Risk. It's all the same.
Yeah. But it says it just says Carry On. There's so much running through LAX made me tired. That's it. Like all of her descriptions are just really simple, ridiculous little poems. It's not like she's trying to be poems. She's just that great of a writer.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is what tingles me right now.
Really?
It sounds like a weird tingle, but that's
a genuine one because you enjoy that right now. That's something that's kind of in your. Can you have a personal zeitgeist? Is that such a thing?
I think that they give awards for personal zeitgeist. There's the personal zeitgeist competition.
My geist.
Your geist. The Lugeist.
Yeah.
Wait, so what tingles you at the moment? If I can turn the camera back, if I can turn Sauron's eye back on the demon who
there's a couple of YouTubers, and this is one of these is really out of character for me. But Leanne and I discovered these together. When you discover something with your spouse or your significant other, it kind of like it flavors it. And it like when you show other regular people, they're like, I guess, but like, no, this means something to us because we discovered a YouTube. Leanne likes crime shows. Or,
informative murder porn?
Yes. And go on YouTube. It's very popular. It's called Rotten Mango.
Ooh, that doesn't sound pleasant.
All it is this girl, Stephanie Sue, this lovely little Asian girl telling you the most horrific stories you've ever heard in your entire life.
Is she the one from Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I don't think so, but I don't know why. I'd be surprised if it was. But she gets millions and millions of views, But she's a really good storyteller. And the thing about Rotten Mango is if they were telling the Abraham Lincoln assassination, they would start out with like, the dog won't sit. Why won't the dog sit? And then you find out his child's playing with a dog and they're getting ready in the background to go to the theater or something. You know what I mean? Like it's just really the way she weaves it together, but they're dark. They're really dark. So to counter Rotten Mango's darkness, we found another blogger that does like the most lighthearted like cooking challenges and just tries out different products. And she's really funny. And her name is the site is Honeysuckle.
Hmm.
Yeah, and she'll like go try different bobas. She's a mom. She's probably a little bit older than Rotten Mango. But Leanne and I both watch those a lot right now. We've discovered them. They bring us joy in different ways. So the Rotten Mango one's intense. My cousin's wife got hooked. We told her about it, and now she's hooked on it. But the other one's real light, just fun and stuff like that. But we just like it. I don't know. We like those are very out of character because I don't watch cooking stuff a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple I might, but by the way, I watch YouTube way more than regular television these days. I much prefer YouTube over network TV or over like HBO and all that stuff. We recently got Max, and there's some really good shows on there, but I can't. What happens nowadays is somebody will come up to me and tell me, and it's always one word. Oh, are you guys watching Storm? I'll be like, what? No. Oh, you guys got to watch Storm. It's good. It's so good. It's on season 11 right now. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry.
It's on Bobblefish.
It's too much of an investment. Oh, you guys watched Mustard yet? Have you seen Mustard? Oh, it's so good. And then
Savory.
No, it's savory. Yeah, no, but there's so many good shows. I understand that. And they are good. I'm not even doubting that they're good or not, but there's just so much content out there, which is good in one way, but in the other way, it's not. When we were kids, stuff was curated, and the gatekeepers weren't always the most diverse, but you had to be pretty good to get to a certain level. You know what I mean? You had to be pretty presentable. And now anybody can get on there, but in a way that's good because I'm on there.
The door was kicked open.
Here, by the way, here's a little trivia. No. In the Unicornian church, different flowers denote different levels and different roles, but the only person that can wear an orange flower in the church is the Reverend John Henry Unicorn, the supreme leader. And that's the truth. So,
is that the gospel truth?
That's the truth according to the Book of Unicornia.
Now, is that going to be the name of the companion book when this series is done?
You know what? You made a joke, but I've already thought of that. Yes. I probably will release the Book of Unicornia. Yeah, it probably will be something of that nature. But there's this guy.
I've talked to so many other people about AI, and a lot of artists, at this point, we're just tired of talking about it. But I do find it interesting considering the fact of how quickly you work and the fact that you are not a perfectionist. It seems like you wouldn't really care if your figures had like 6 or 7 figures.
Yeah. I mean, I have a semi-controversial stance on AI. Being somebody that can draw and does draw and does do my own music and is self-sufficient, I'm totally, for other people, I kind of don't care. I understand, that ripping off artists and all that stuff, but for what it is, I don't care. If somebody wants to tell a story and can't afford to hire an artist, can't afford to do music, it's a way of getting their idea out there. However, with that shallow defense of AI, I will say this. Right now, the day that we're recording this, today's date is March 2nd, 1972. AI kind of does a borderline job at best. You know what I mean? it kind of it's bless you. It kind of the uncanny valley still exists a little bit. It's just something. Even the like when I first discovered AI music, where you could write lyrics and tell it what kind of style. Oh my God! Of course, we're making all these songs that were just ridiculous songs about my cousin and how he wears high heels to fires and he's a fireman. Just like we would make fun, like whatever songs about somebody's dog or whatever, just something silly songs, and they sounded so legit, so real. But there also was something, and there is something about that it doesn't have a soul in a way. And I'm not. That's not even there's some people that say that about all AI. Oh, AI doesn't have a soul. I mean, it's like almost there. Like it's really close, but there's something.
It's empty.
I'm going to tell you a little story about something.
Tell me. Story time with Jim.
Something that happened tonight. Leanne says, "Jim, come outside. Look, I think that's a drone." And I went outside. Why tell you when I can show you what it looked like? I'm going to show you with story time here. Okay, this is the sky, right?
Okay.
And in that sky, I saw what looked to be, from my perspective, it was, let me see, it went like...
A small penis?
Yes, a small penis. It looked like this, except that this was less. Like that. And it had
circumcision.
It had like red light there, and like maybe like a bright blue, almost white blue light. Watch the special effect I'm going to add real quick, so you'll get what I mean. You will see what I mean. There we go.
Ooh.
So I saw that in the sky going like this. It was like this big, going. And this is me looking up at the sky. And I thought immediately when I saw this, and you could hear a very faint engine. Like it wasn't loud. Like it felt like if it was low, it wouldn't be that loud. But there was some kind of hum. And I saw that, and I go, no, that's not a drone, man. That's a plane. Like it's just really high. And then I looked, and the way that the light was hitting it, and here's the crazy thing. You see a plane that's really high up or even pretty high up. It looks a certain way when it moves. This one, it was moving, and there was like a buckle. Like it went like
shimmy.
Yes, it went, and I could see it go. And I go, that's like a drone. That's a big like drone up there. It's not a plane. It's not a plane. A plane, the ball, the plane. But because of that little uncanny valley, right? Because it has a flying chicken leg. And then the giant UFO came out of the sky and fired light. No. So
choo-choo.
When I saw that, I was that little like dip that it did. I was like, that's not a plane. That told me that the way it was moving, the clarity I could see of it moving, told me that it was closer. Have you ever seen like a miniature in a movie, and then something about the way it moves or something, you're like, that's a miniature. It's not the same. That's what I mean. I saw that effect, and that's kind of how AI is with music and everything. It's very close, and you're like, oh, this is good, but there's something missing. There's like an element missing in AI right now. Maybe they'll solve this, but I'm not totally anti AI and all that stuff. I know that there's some very good friends that are very, very.
Corey's coming for you. He's going back to the Artcasters just to hunt you down.
Corey is AI. I didn't want to tell you that. We created him, and he just went out of control
in a laboratory.
AI escaped the lab, and now Corey is just, But
dinosaurs versus Kerbots.
And speaking of Kerbots, I'm headed to bed, gents.
We'll be like a lullaby. Like our horrific sounds will be like the last thing to echo in your voice as you try to lose consciousness.
Gary, are you trying to be erotic? Because it's not working with them. It's just not You got to reword that. Why don't you put it in Chat GPT? That'll help. But
Jim gonna haunt your dreams.
good night, Gary. Good night, Gary. But
Jim gonna haunt your dreams up in here, up in here.
Man, I feel like I feel like I owe you money because I got to promote so many things tonight.
I am glad anytime that I can have a friend on, just to have a friend and not be lonely. Remind me that there are voices besides just the ones I hear in my head.
Yes.
But yeah,
I don't know if I'm real or not.
Well, I mean, it's the eternal sunshine of the burly mind.
I might be a stimulation.
Oh, you're definitely a stimulation. Stimulation.
Next time you come down, we got to get together again. We come out. We'll recreate all the magic in person.
Oh yes.
Or we'll go up.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you. I don't think it's telling tales out of school. Ken Mora has come up this way in the area, and we got together to have a nice lunch. Well, no, we got to get a nice coffee. We didn't have lunch, but anytime if we get multiple guys heading into this area, it's very lovely up here, and I mean, we don't necessarily have the setup where I could just have a house full of artists driving my wife crazy, because I would love to be able to have like the dude lodge, but we don't have enough space for that. And to be honest, our cats are too territorial. They would just be like, who the fuck are all these people? I'm scratching all of their eyes out.
You don't want a dude lodge anyway.
No. But at some point, it would be nice not just for us to hang out, but I feel bad just in the fact that for so many years I lived in LA. And even though it's not like it's not like right next door to Josh, but the fact that I lived within a reasonable driving distance to Josh, and I just was never able schedule wise to holler and get a hold of him and hang out.
Are you talking about in his Long Beach days or where he lives now?
Where he lives now.
That's pretty far anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty far, but I'm probably closer to that than I am to Long Beach.
Yeah. So, I mean, plus...
Mm-hmm. Or at least, no, I was when I was in LA. I was close to, because I was like kind of like not the far like Santa Clarita end of the valley, but I was still far enough up that it's like I could have gotten out that way in like 45 minutes or something.
Plus, visiting Josh is hard because some state prisons aren't always open on regular hours, so you have to go through the guard tower and stuff like that. It's just... And
then they got to do the cavity search. Yeah. And no matter how much I try, they never find the goodies I hide for them.
I said, I don't have any cavities.
Why did I? Yeah, and the way they scrape the tartar off, it just...
I said, I don't have any cavities. I brushed. And he goes, no, we're not talking about that cavity. I went, neither am I.
Now, see, that's more merch for you. The Jim Lujan ass brush. I'm telling you, man, you would make a mint.
And then,
in fact, it should be mint flavored.
On it'll say, buy used for less. Hey, I can save $2.16. I'm going to save $2.16.
Used ass brush is a flavored ass brush. All right, yeah. But on that note, I guess we should bring this in because we do have, lives beyond the digital realm. And you finished a piece.
I did.
Now, is this going to be an in-episode? Like, this is a piece of production art that you produced tonight.
Yeah, you're seeing it. It's going to go like this. Hello there. My name is John Cash. So, this is. I'm going to put some shading on it. I'll, draw a couple of other things. I'll do a side view, front view. Well, this will be considered a front view, but little things. And then I also add.
Wait! Don't move anything. I am actually going to screenshot this. So I'm going to use him as the thumbnail for this episode.
I like it. Did you notice I put a soul patch on him, by the way, when you weren't looking?
I didn't.
I did.
But that's how wily you are. You be trying to slip shit in all the time.
You soul patching son of a...
You know what, though? I mean, I'll tell you, it looks like that thing definitely flavors his soup.
Yes. Tickles his fancy.
Oh.
Thank you for having me on, sir. I really do appreciate it, man.
Well, for those in the knows, if you want to find more Jim Lujan, you can go to jimlujan.com. That will take you to his YouTube channel, where you can see many of his film series, as well as the trailer for his latest project, The Full Fungus. And in the future,
which Jeremy watched tonight. He watched it tonight, so he's glowing. That's why he's glowing.
Fresh. It's fresh on me. It's friggin' the aura you see. It's a fungus aura. It's a fungus. I got the full fungal on me. A full fungal on me.
The fungus stank all over.
Fungus stank. And the Unicornians doesn't quite roll off the tongue, but I'm sure that I'm sure you and the gang will come up with a theme song that will be so catchy that it will have people just like it will make it impossible for them to mispronounce it.
That's right. It'll be on the tip of everyone's tongue and in the apple of their eye. And speaking of the apple of the eye, Corey just joined right now. Hello, Corey. Or you might speak too soon on that. Go back and watch it.
Well, no, that's the AI Corey, not the real Corey.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's not the flesh Corey.
Yes,
it's digital Corey.
You know how I can tell? Because the real Corey's
has more typos.
Has more angst.
Well, he expresses his angst in typos, as most of us do. I mean, I'm constantly anxious. That's why my spelling is so poor. My copy editor is just like,
come on, what's going on?
But yes, people, please. Well, you know what, Jim? Hopefully, you'll be continuing to show just little snippets of your process work. I mean, the fact of the matter is that you could still just take just exported the time lapse from just that drawing you did. Boom, that's a reel.
Oh yeah. So I'm on Instagram. I'm on all the things. On Patreon, I will be showing the making of the Unicornians quite a bit. So you'll see it on there.
I mean, I'm actually thinking like, who know? I think it would be it'd be a crazy experiment, but I could see a companion making of documentary on Animation Plus as well.
Let's see. Let's ring in their ears.
You're doing a book. It's more content.
Okay.
Digital extras. Everybody love them digital extras. First on Patreon as exclusives, then digital extras on Plus. On Animation Plus.
Note taken.
All right. And for everybody else, jeremy.net, comics, figure drawing, illustration, follow me, newsletter, Amazon, all that. You know the score.
You know the score.
That's it for now. Go be creative.
All right. Thank you, guys. And thank you.